Hello, and thank you for joining me in the studio today for another episode of the HomeBuyer Hustle. My name is Cameron Diavis, and I'm going to be your host today. And as I've mentioned before, the whole reason behind this podcast is to be able to help first-time home buyers, second home buyers, and if it's your last home buyers, give them a little bit of insight throughout the lending process and what can be expected, the pitfalls to avoid. We're also going to hear throughout this series of podcasts from real estate agents, title reps, appraisers, home inspectors, and they're going to also give you some pointers and some tips as well. So without further delay, let's get on to the episode. Hello, thank you for joining me today for another episode of the HomeBuyer Hustle. My name is Cameron Diavis, and I will be your host today. So we're talking about vital tools that will help you on your home buying journey. So let's touch bases on tool number one, credit. Well, credit score is a number that is used to predict how likely you are to pay back a loan. Your credit score starts with the information about you from your credit report, and then a mathematical prediction formula is applied to this information. Now, that prediction formula, which is called the scoring model, creates a number, and this number is used for your credit score. You will have more than one credit score because there are many different types of scoring models. One of them just does more or less just everyday retail accounts versus mortgage and automobile credit. It's different scoring models there. Now, to get and keep a good credit score, you want to make sure that you're paying all your loans and your bills on time. Number two is it's extremely important. If you have access to credit, don't use too much of that credit that's available to you. So what that means is you only want to use about 30% of your credit limit. So if your credit limit's $500, then you want to multiply that by 0.3 or 30%, which is going to be about $150. So you don't want to go over that $150 to keep your credit thriving and fresh. And you just try to pay those off every month or more than the minimum payments, because if you make the minimum payments, it's going to take you forever to get that account paid off. The other thing, too, I want to mention is that, so if you have one credit card, you have a $500 credit limit, and an emergency comes up, like full-on, blown-up emergency. You can't borrow money from anybody, and the only thing you can do is put it on the card. Take care of that issue, put it on the card, take deep breaths, and then make sure once that crisis or that event is taken care of, that you really start paying down that credit card that you have a higher balance on, that you need to get it down below that 30% threshold. The other thing is to make sure all of the information on your credit report is correct. I've been a loan originator for over 18 years, and you'd be amazed of how many times there's been multiple social security numbers on one credit report. What's happened in the past, why that shows up, is that you somebody took an application from you over the phone and messed up the numbers, or when you were doing an online application, you inadvertently entered in the wrong numbers because you transposed some, or whatever the case may be. But what the point of this is you want to make sure you're reaching out to TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian to help get those corrected and removed. Because if you don't, it will haunt you later on. Also, you want to make sure every year that you go on to www.annualcreditreport.com and pull your credit report. This is going to give you a great look at what's on your credit report so you can file any of those disputes if you need to. So what's a dispute? Well, if you have stuff that's showing up on your Experian, your Equifax, and TransUnion credit, you'll go ahead and log into each one of those credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. And what you're going to do is there's a dispute button. You're going to find it on your credit line, and you're just going to click, hey, this isn't mine, or this was in collections, I paid the collections, or whatever that resolution was. You want to make sure that you take care of that. Also, you want to dispute, like I said, any errors that are on your credit report. You want to understand your credit score. The things, like I said before, the big ones are going to be utilization. If you see that word utilization, it means the balance off of your high credit limit. How close are you getting to that your credit limit? Because as the higher you go and the closer you to get to that limit, the greater impact it's going to have on your credit. It's going to drop your credit scores. It's going to be like adding an anchor to a balloon. So you want to make sure. Ideally, you want to have at least 2 to 3 credit accounts. You'd really preferably have 3 revolving and 1 closed-end credit. Closed-end credit, what is that? Well, if you go to a furniture store and you take out a loan for furniture, that's typically on a closed-end loan. But you will want to clarify with them, is this on a closed-end? Anything that's closed-end credit, automobile is another closed-end credit item. You have a set number of payments over a set term of time. Once that's paid off, and then that you can't recharge it, it's paid off and it's free and clear at that point. So it's typically the ratio is 3 open accounts to 3 revolving accounts to 1 closed-end credit account. It's kind of like the ideal mix to get you the credit score. So if you only have 1 credit card, another good idea would be to get maybe a secured credit card where you put up your own money to have a credit card. You put on the credit card. You still manage your balance to that 30%. And then whoever is the lending institution that gives you the credit, they report it to the credit bureaus. That's what you're after. Have those items report to the credit bureau so that you can get credit for that, and it helps boost your credit score. Now, the other things that you want to be careful of is the number of unused accounts on your credit. So it kind of goes the exact opposite of what I was talking about before. So if you only had 2 accounts, you've got, you only have 2 to manage, and that's manageable, or 3 accounts or 4 accounts, easy to manage. But if you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 accounts, and some of those accounts have credit limits of, say, $10,000, and they're not being used, this can impact your credit score as well. It can go either way, actually. It's like the more open credit that you have, and say, for example, you lose your job, you're more apt to start using those cards, because even though you're unemployed because you've lost a job, your standard of living, unfortunately, to a lot of people, doesn't decrease. They still go out to eat. So they'll go, oh, I have this card, or I need this all of a sudden. I'm going to go get this, or I need work clothes, and they put it on their credit card, and they have no income really coming in except for maybe unemployment or whatever they have. So those are the things that you got to watch out for, as well as just the unused credit. Pay down your debt. keep in mind that 30% rule. If you can do anything, ingrain that into your mind. I can only use that 30%. I can only use that 30%. Unless there's a dire emergency that you need to dip into that. You don't have the emergency funds and you need to use that to get yourself out of a crisis. By all means, use it. But remember, you're going to have to come full on and attack it and pay it down to get your credit to where it needs to be. Okay, so we've touched on those items. Remember, to keep a good credit score, what do you have to do? Number one, pay all your loans and your bills on time, first and foremost. Number two was what? Credit utilization. Extremely important. Keep your utilization down to 30% or less, except for if there's a dire emergency, something you can't get out of and you need to do it, go ahead and use that card, but make sure your plan of attack is to pay that card down the minute you get a chance to, because your credit score will be impacted if you don't. The key is what again? 30%. Keep your credit balance 30% of whatever your high credit limit is. The other thing, what did we talk about? Make sure your credit information is correct on your credit report. If it isn't, what are you going to do? Waiting for it. Right. You're going to dispute it. And how are you going to dispute it? Right. You're going to reach out to Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. You're going to log in and you're going to dispute those things that should not be there. What are you going to look for when you pull your credit report through annualcreditreport.com? What are the things you're going to look for? Number one, accounts that aren't yours. Number two, additional Social Security numbers that you have not used. Number three, that all of your other information is correct. I have faith in you. I know you can do this. If I can answer any of your comments or questions or comments, shoot me a comment in the email and the comment section below, and I will get right back to you and help you through it. Until the next episode, we're going to be talking about the mortgage application. Until then, stay safe. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my podcast today of the HomeBuyer Hustle. If you liked it, please subscribe. If you know somebody that can benefit from it, definitely have them subscribe. If you know anybody that's in the market to buy a new home and needs to get pre-approved, please shoot me a quick message. I can help you with that as well. And at the end of the day, have a great one. Can't wait to see you again. Take care.